Per your request. So I've had comments, people asking me to comment on the Twitter moves, the current Twitter moves, not whether he should have bought it, not whether it was worth it, not whether he should have sold some Tesla stock in order to invest in Twitter. No, the questions, the comments have been, what's happening now? What do I think about what's happening now at Twitter? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it working? What's going on at Twitter? So if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. You know all the things to do, but I'm mostly looking for new folks to sign up for Patreon so that I can get to my magic number so that we can begin the fun. So if you're interested, check it out. In the description below is the link to Patreon. Okay, let's get into the meat of the discussion. First of all, I need to establish my knowledge or expertise on this particular subject because you may not know. I have been a consultant for the last 15 years, working with small companies, almost 400 companies that I've worked with, mostly small and medium-sized companies, to help them grow their businesses. In many of those cases, they have been companies that are in trouble, significant trouble, where I've come in and basically my goal has been, or my job has been, to help them work out the company so that they can continue to thrive into the future. About in 1989, my manufacturing company was in trouble and a workout consultant came in and helped me save the company. The company went on to continue successfully in business for another 17 years after that day. So I learned a huge amount from that workout consultant about what to do in terms of a troubled company. And now I've applied it to a bunch of different companies over the course of the last 15 years with actually 95% success. I had one where both owners were in horrible health. They were quite elderly, probably younger than me, but they were old. And it was just, there was plenty of ways to save that little company, but it was just the two owners were just past the point of where they could. So I had one failure. I am admitting it here in public. Okay, let's go on. What's happening at Twitter? It is a classic turnaround situation. I didn't go back and look it up, but I think Twitter was making a small amount of money. Not much considering the size of the company, but they were making a small amount of money. But the company was completely, how can you put it? It was just not being run well. And everybody that's looked at it over the last 3 or 4 months, as Elon has gone, yeah, it was obviously being completely mismanaged. So the company had pretty good income, but it had huge expenses, and it was just out of control in so many ways. And obviously now we've got the Twitter files and all the issues with regard to what they should or shouldn't have done. But here is the key that I tell so many people. Hey, owner, you've got a gold mine here. This is an incredible business. If it is, if it's not, I'm not going to say it. You've got a gold mine here. You've got all the things lined up to make this company extremely successful. What's going on? Why isn't it successful? Let's dig in and find out. And the digging in can't take a long time. It's really got to happen fast. When the guy came into my company in 1989, he basically said I had, like 2 weeks to figure it out. He gave me some jobs to do that I needed to accomplish in 2 weeks. And I did accomplish them in 2 weeks. And again, the company was very successful over the next 17 years. So the number one thing that Elon did, this is absolutely the first thing you have to do. The very first thing you have to do is you have to cut the overhead. You just have to go through and be ruthless about cutting the overhead. And Elon was ruthless about cutting the overhead. So he cut 50% of the people almost immediately. And then he went in and a little more strategically, he cut about 50% of that remaining staff. That is obviously the very first thing that you have to do in a struggling and troubled company. Number two, you look at every other, it's called zero-based budgeting. You look at the budget and you go, it's first principles thinking with regard to budgeting. Do we absolutely have to have this coffee machine? Do we absolutely have to have this facility? Do we absolutely have to have this whole division of the company. So you're going in and you're looking at everything from a very first principles basis of, is it absolutely necessary for us to survive? And you're getting rid of anything that isn't necessary to survive. And in some cases, you're overcutting. You're probably overcutting on the employees. You may be overcutting on facilities. You may be overcutting on some advertising and promotional expense, but you're overcutting because what? You can always put it back in if it was necessary. It's not that hard to go back to the supplier and say, hey, yeah, we need some more of that. Okay, so rents, we famously has gotten into negotiations with the landlords everywhere. So this is the number one thing you have to do. You have to stop the bleeding, is the way a workout consultant will talk about it. First, you got to stop the bleeding. Are you paying too much in interest? Is there a way for you to solve that? Okay, number two, you got to get to the cash flow. So sometimes there's still cash available. I've been in situations where there was plenty of cash. I've been in situations where the owner was 90 days behind in paying really important vendors, maybe even more than 90 days behind in paying vendors, and there had to be a workout relationship. So, but sometimes there's cash, so you have to figure out, is there cash? Is there enough cash? Elon went in and figured out there's not enough cash. Well, when he figured out there wasn't enough cash, then he had to go back to his resources. In his case, his resources were substantial. He had to sell some more stock in Tesla in order to put some cash in the bank that he could then lend to Twitter as necessary if they didn't have enough operating capital. It turned out that they were able to make their first payments on their loans. So for right now, it appears that working capital is okay. We don't know. We're not in there seeing the details on a day-to-day basis, but based on what we're seeing is right now, cash flow is okay. And in fact, there was an announcement last week that said, hey, it looks like we're headed towards cash positive in 2023. I'm assuming that also means profitable in 2023. Now, okay, it's one thing to cut the expenses. The other thing is you got to increase the revenues, or at least in his case with Twitter, he needed to stop the bleeding with regard to customers abandoning. And a lot of people say, oh, they're abandoning because of his politics. They're abandoning because of the new policy with regard to allowing certain people back on Twitter. No, a lot of people were abandoning because they just didn't know what the future held. They didn't know whether they could get an ROI on the advertising expense. Return on investment. You put $1 in, you want $3 out. Okay, that's what I always tell my marketing clients is if you're advertising in some place and you're putting $1 in, you want $3 of profit out for that $1 in. That's the goal. All right, so Elon looks at it and he says, okay, the next thing I need to do is I need to call the top folks. I actually made a video about this just before he did it. It was really another one of those situations where, I got it right. I mean, once in a while, at least I get it right. So that was critical for him to do. He got on the phone, he got into the plane, whatever it took, went out and talked to the top advertisers and said, look, here's the mission. I just did a video. You'll either see it before or after this, I'm not sure which, with regard to communications. And he's an amazing communicator, maybe the best I've ever seen. And he would go to them and say, look, my mission here is to provide a town square where everybody can feel like they can come and have an honest conversation about what's going on. They don't have to hold back their opinion. They can put their opinion out there as long as it isn't telling people to do anything illegal. We want to stay within the bounds of the law, but other than that, let people say what they're going to say and let's have a debate. And so he needed to communicate that vision to the advertisers. He needed to let them be sure that, like any advertiser, if I'm buying advertising in a magazine or a newspaper, what are those? Magazines? Yeah, there's still some magazines out there and still some newspapers. But if I'm buying a print ad in a magazine, I don't want my advertisement to be sitting next to a nice article on my competitor. I don't want it to be sitting next to something that I just don't agree with. So sometimes you talk to the magazine owner, the advertising salesperson, wherever you're selling, wherever you're taking advertising, and say, I don't want to be juxtapositioned with something that I don't agree with. Well, so the advertisers wanted that too. They didn't want their ads to be shown right next to something that was not appropriate for their advertising audience. So that's easy enough to do. You got algorithms to take care of that. So Elon went out, he talked to the top advertisers. Several of them immediately began advertising again. Some have not. There was a report last week that 50% of the advertisers have left, of the largest advertisers. I don't know whether that's the top 200 or top 1,000 or whatever, but 50% of them have not yet come back. I don't know if that's true or false or, what the situation is, but that at least we know some have come back, and Elon has gone out to make that happen. Number 3 is you have to start figuring out new methods of bringing in revenue. That could be from your normal sources. So you could go out and you could go after more advertising dollars. In Elon's case, he said, no, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask people to pay for the blue check mark. $8 if you do it direct, $11, I think, if you do it through the Apple store. So that's what he did. And some people say, oh, nobody's going to pay $7 or $8 or whatever. Oh, why are you going to charge your client? He said, look, my analysis is people will pay. They'll pay for a host of different reasons. He put it out there, and guess what? 200,000 people apparently have signed up. And so that is something like 8 times 200,000, $1.6 million a month in revenue that's coming in that wasn't coming in before. As we know, he has a bunch of other revenue models in mind. So those revenue models are being worked on. The other thing is you got to make sure that what you're doing is in fact meeting the mission. And so now there's changes taking place so that the audience, so the customer base, the people that are making Twitter are satisfied that this is a place that they can go have that discussion. It's a place where they can be entertained. It's a place where they can get the latest news on whatever it is the specific niche that they're interested in getting the news about. And so that is also happening very, very rapidly with changes like the 4,000 word opportunity now on Twitter, other kinds of things that are being put in place. So he's enhancing the product line at the same time that he is looking for ways to enhance the revenue resources that are coming in. And he has plans for, and the more exciting stuff is yet to come, where there's going to be something like a Square or some kind of a financial transaction capability on Twitter that will be in addition to the other sources out there, a kind of bank, that you'll be able to use. So these are also things that are coming that would obviously be, if it's successful, would be fairly massive resources. Okay, the next thing you want to do is you need to make sure that your suppliers are all on board. In Twitter's case, I don't think there's a ton of suppliers to worry about, but if you happen to be in a workout situation or know somebody that is, you got to get on board. You got to go call the suppliers, because you've heard me say this. If you follow me, you've heard me say it before. Customers are easy. There's millions of them, but great suppliers are hard. And sometimes there's only one or two. So I'm sure that by now Elon has picked up the phone with any significant suppliers and talked to them about what it is that is happening, made sure that there's a working relationship going forward if they were critical to the business. Then you need to have them sit down with the employees. The employees have to understand the new mission and the new expectations. Maybe I shouldn't have left this till last. I'm sorry for those of you who've left. Oh yeah, I can't say sorry to you. You've gone. You need to have the employees on board, and he did this. It was very much of a headline how Elon went in and said, "Look, I need you to work your buns off. I need you to be here as much as necessary in order to get the job done. This is now going to be run like other Elon Musk companies. We're not going to have a bunch of folks lounging around, coming in when they want to, working from home. No, it's going to be run like a very, very efficient business. And our mission is worth it. What we're going to do, creating this amazing opportunity for people to have a town square where their voices can be heard, where they can gather together, possibly do things as a group, a place to leap off from, to go form new groups and new committees and new folks that might go out and make a difference in the world. We're going to make this town square unbelievably fun and useful to people. And in order to do that, we're going to just need an awful lot of hard work to get there. He made this very clear to the people. And then he said, if this is not for you, go. We don't want you here if you don't believe in the mission. We don't want you here if you're not willing to work really, really hard to get it done. So that becomes one of the other parts of a workout in any situation, is making sure that the new mission and the new expectations are clearly spelled out to the folks. Well, Elon has done all those things. I think as usual, I know I'm an Elon Musk fanboy. I wrote the 2 books because I'm an Elon Musk fanboy. If you're interested in what it is that Elon does in order to be this effective, well, then you want to buy the Elon Musk method, because I talk about 16 things in there that he does that I think small business owners and managers could learn from. But just in general, this is a workout. What I described for you is a methodology for working out a company, for bringing a company back from death and changing its direction so that it can become as successful as possible, especially when it's in a difficult situation. And Elon Musk has given us a masterclass in that. And this is my response. Thank you to the commenter who suggested it. And I hope that it's been useful and valuable, or at least entertaining to all of you. If so, please like, please subscribe, do all the things you know to do, and then comment. It's comments like this fella that got me to do this particular video. Your comment might be the reason I do the next one. And then, of course, we're looking for folks on Patreon. It's been great talking to you today.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.